Physically, he feels like he's the leader. And when a player that good is that confident, you see what we're seeing week in, week out. But I think it's almost like a nice circle. It's not quite a year. It's 11 months since that moment where he said he hit rock bottom.
So Real Madrid hold on to that top spot, and dare I say pretty comfortably with 30 points. Right under them is, no, it's not Barcelona, it's Villarreal with 23 points. Barcelona sitting third, same points as Atletico Madrid, both of them with 22 points. So dive more into this Real Madrid matchup. Let's bring in our CBS Sports La Liga correspondent, Phil Kitromilides. Phil, before we get into the rest of the matchup and how this played out, it really started off very early on with that handball. Was it a handball? Was it not a handball? I mean, from your perspective, what's going on? What are people saying over in Spain? What's your perspective on how this one played out?
Well, it was definitely a handball because the ball did very clearly hit his hand. Whether or not it's in a natural position or not, I think that's why it was judged to have been given as a penalty, because it's judged to have been not in a natural position. I think actually Valencia, and this is what they were saying here in Spain, Valencia were actually lucky that this penalty was given and not for the foul on Kylian Mbappé, because if the penalty gets given for the foul on Kylian Mbappé, then it's a red card against Diego Lopez and they play with 10 men. So actually, even though it didn't feel like it, Valencia maybe got a little bit lucky by giving that penalty away for the handball. But, you know, people are often questioning handballs. What is a handball? What isn't a handball? It did literally hit his hand in the penalty area. It was in a slightly unnatural position. Could have not been given, but it was given. And Real Madrid had a pretty comfortable night tonight against a poor Valencia side.
All right, I'm going to dispute that because obviously I like to do things like this, Phil. We've known each other long enough. This is kind of crazy for me because initially, if you look at the challenge, there was Bellingham who went down first, and then we saw Kylian Mbappé go down. To me, it looked like Kylian might have been in an offside position. Therefore, it looked like that have negated the actual penalty kick, and therefore, obviously, the red cards you were talking about. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a hand appeared. So to me, it was almost as if they were looking for the penalty kick. I'm not going to argue. I just don't think it's necessary. At the end of the day, Real Madrid made it look easy, like you pointed out there. Now, Kylian Mbappe's performance overall, I'm intrigued by your perspective. He's simply outstanding. He looks better this season compared to what we witnessed last season. Why do you think that is?
I think for a number of reasons, but one of the most important things is the mental aspect and how comfortable he's feeling. I think it's interesting that we should dwell on one thing. Today, he scored a penalty kick against Julen Aguirre-Zabala, who was in goal for Valencia. Last season, Kylian Mbappé missed a penalty for Real Madrid at Athletic Club de Bilbao 11 months ago, and Julen Aguirre-Zabala saved it. And after that penalty miss, or that penalty save, Kylian Mbappé came out and said, "I've hit rock bottom." Fast forward 11 months, he's in a much better space mentally, he's much better physically, he feels like he's the leader. And when a player that good is that confident, you see what we're seeing week in, week out. But I think it's almost like a nice circle. It's not quite a year, it's 11 months since that moment where he said he hit rock bottom, having that penalty saved by the same goalkeeper past whom he scored tonight. And he's looking like he's absolutely flying. He had the golden boot given to him yesterday as well. Lovely little ceremony that they had, not little ceremony, big old ceremony they had at the Bernabeu. He was La Liga's Player of the Month in September. He was La Liga's Player of the Month in October. It's the first day of November, and I'm going to stick my neck out and say he might just well be Player of the Month in November as well. He's absolutely flying, physically looking better, and mentally a lot stronger as well.
Phil, he might be Ballon d'Or winner if he continues to score in this trend. It's quite ridiculous, the fashion he's scoring these goals in. And it's wonderful to see. And I'm glad you touched upon the point of him mentally being able to deal with it, because Real Madrid is not easy to deal with for any person, any human out there, including the manager, Xabi Alonso. It's been a difficult week for him after what happened with Vinicius Jr., obviously walking off in anger. I'm sure the media went a little crazy over there. But he's handling this team and this group of players incredibly well. How has he impressed you? I mean, what has it that's been stood out to you from the attributes that he's brought to the club and how he's handling this group of players to be able to continuously get top performances from this team?
It's been very impressive from Xabi Alonso, actually, and particularly how he's handled this, which has been the first major curveball that he's been dealt with in terms of dealing with the dressing room. They just beat Barcelona in the Clásico. They just went 5 points clear at the top of the table. And yet all this week, people weren't talking about the game. They were talking about Vinicius. They were talking about what was going to happen, the fallout, what Xabi Alonso has to do. Should Real Madrid sell him? All this stuff. which Xabi Alonso dealt with very, very calmly. And in the pre-match press conference yesterday, he came out and he said, listen, it's been dealt with. It's done. It's finished. Let's move on. And he does have this calm, steely persona that I think everybody around him does respect. And even though that does seem to not be the most respectful thing that Vinicius did in the Clásico, his behaviour towards the manager today, absolutely impeccable. He was subbed off in the 78th minute, came off, applauded, gave the manager a high five, and hopefully we won't see anything like that again. So Xabi Alonso is a former player, he's a former youth team coach as well. He is someone who has been embedded inside Real Madrid. He understands what it takes to be a player there. I think he's understanding now what it takes to be a coach there as well. So irrespective of how he's changed the team, and they are playing very differently to how they did last season, I think the mentality which he's brought to the table, it's been equally as impressive.
Yeah, it's been impressive to see this Real Madrid team get back to the Real Madrid side that we know. And it's been impressive to also see Jude Bellingham coming back from injury and getting back into that Jude Bellingham that we know. 3 goals in 3 games for him. I mean, what's going on here? You said Mbappé would be November Player of the Month. I mean, if Jude continues this form, December Player of the Month.
Good call, Claudia. Absolutely, you're right. And you know what? Someone said to me to try and explain why Jude is looking so sharp. They said, imagine you played for a year and a half with your shoulder being strapped for every game, being in constant discomfort during games, and then it's gone. And suddenly you feel amazing. Well, you would look brilliant and physically so superior out on the pitch. And that's what Jude Bellingham is looking like right now. Looking like an absolute physical specimen, dominating matches, scoring horrific goals, and just doing everything right as well. Today, his work rate was off the scale. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not he's in Thomas Tuchel's next England squad. I would be absolutely staggered if he wasn't. And maybe that dented his pride a little bit. Maybe that just motivated a little bit more to continue his recovery. But yeah, physically he looks tremendous. And that is one of his main attributes, Jude Bellingham, his physical prowess out on the pitch, where he just dominates the pitch. We saw that again tonight.
I definitely think he took that personally.
Yeah, no doubt about
Don't
it.
make him angry.
Listen, he wants to play in that England team. He's definitely going to be in that England team as far as I'm concerned. I actually think England are handling him incredibly well. I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Villarreal, second in La Liga standings right now. The home form's unbelievable. I just mentioned Gerard Moreno and obviously the goals that he's been scoring. Quite remarkable what he's done for that football club. But how good are they? Can they potentially be a candidate to challenge Real Madrid and Barcelona at the top of the table?
Probably not, but they could be a candidate to maybe be one of the best of the rest. I think they've got a really deep squad. They went out and they spent big money bringing in George Mikatadze, who is not a cheap player, but they spent a club record fee on him. I think there's strength in depth with Villarreal. You look at the forward line, you mentioned Gerard Moreno, they've got Mikatadze, they've got Alusawe, they've got Ayose Perez, European champion, not to mention Tejan Buchanan as well is there. There's a lot of firepower going forward, and defensively, they're a team set up with Marcelino. And here's the thing about Villarreal, they don't want the ball. They're very happy to sit deep and counter-attack. They're so good in transitions. They score so many goals without necessarily having most possession in the game. Today they won 4-0. They didn't have most possession in the game against Rayo Vallecano. So they are a team that don't need the ball to really be effective in matches. And yeah, they're a terrific side. They're in the Champions League as well. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to compete on 2 fronts. But for them to finish top 4 would be another magnificent achievement, and well within their grasp.
Phil, we appreciate it so much. We were only supposed to be talking Real Madrid, but Villarreal has been impressing us so much. We had to use you while you were here to ask you about them.
Curveball every now and again. That's why we have Phil on here. That's why he's the expert.
Hey, he's the expert. Phil, get to bed. I know it's late over there in Spain.
Phil. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.